Hello, political geeks. I'm your host, Barry Schumer, coming to you on July 18th, 2026. Hope you're doing well and having a great weekend. In a few minutes, I'm going to read you the end of the preface that I've done the previous shows from my book, Box Seats to the End. Will the People Save the Republic? It's a tremendous preface, and hopefully it's going to pique your interest. The book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Um, And then after I read the end of the preface, I'm going to talk a little bit about what Donald Trump has accomplished in his first year and a half in office. And I'm also going to talk about a little dinner gathering I had with friends last night. A very interesting political discussion came up, and I'll explain that to you in a few minutes. This is the end of the preface of the book. In just 6 months back in office, he accomplished more than most presidents do in a full term, passing major tax legislation, bringing illegal boarding crossings to a halt, and sending criminal migrants unceremoniously packing, no matter how shrill the blowback. He and his team are slashing regulations and rooting out fraudulent and wasteful government spending. America's energy dominance is being quickly restored from its first term glory with Trump's signature drill baby drill agenda, massively expanding oil leases, accelerating permitting policies, and breathing new life into America's long shuttered nuclear energy production, all whilst ditching subsidies for the left's inefficient Green New scam. Donald Trump is single handedly restoring America's respect and deterrence power on the world stage by reasserting a fortified peace through strength doctrine, something left in tatters by the Biden administration. Trump is showing the world through his strong voice and decisive actions that America's military is once again the most lethal fighting force on the planet, and that we will no longer allow adversaries to cross red lines without consequence. This unmistakable message put an end to the threat of a nuclear armed Iran in a single 37-hour sortie. Trump is expanding the historic Abraham Accords and strengthening our historic bond with Israel while opening up the diplomatic door to an Assad free Syria. America's 47th president is working like hell to bring peace to the world in Israel and Gaza, Russia and Ukraine, and negotiating the end of numerous other wars and conflicts across the globe. And he's just getting started. Schumer and Farkosas don't sugarcoat. They tell the story straight, the chaos, the courage, the victories, even the bitter losses. This isn't about defending Trump's every social post or braggadocious rant. It's about tracking the reality of a truly historic president who gets back up again and keeps swinging for the country he loves and the people who have been left behind. My friend Howard Morris wrote that preface. He did a fantastic job with it. I hope that piques your interest to maybe purchase the book and give it a read. And please, while I'm thinking about it, I really want to get this podcast going. If you like what I'm talking about, if you could hit subscribe and hit like, I'd appreciate it. Send it to your friends if you think it's interesting. So I'll get to that dinner now that I had last night with some friends. It's about 10 people, and three men were talking. A few women came into the conversation as well, but it was mainly the three men talking about politics. One guy's a Trump supporter, but has some criticism of Trump and doesn't like his style and presentation, but he mostly supports the president. The other man despises Trump, is a staunch Democrat, and Trump can never do anything to make him appreciate any of his talents. He's an absolute never Trumper, Trump hater. Anyway, what the interesting thing was to me, at the end of the conversation, I said, it just seems to me, because we were talking about the Iran war, it seems to me, and I was talking to the Democrat at this point, that there's a lot of Democrats that hate Trump that that believe that Iran is winning this war and the United States is losing it. And he said, absolutely, Iran's winning this war. I mean, obviously, this is some cognitive dissonance again, talking that nothing associated with Donald Trump can be successful. It can't. They won't allow their mind to even think about that. I am stunned because I don't see how Iran's winning this war. We have completely destroyed their military. We've destroyed most of their ballistic missile capability and drone capability and their manufacturing of those missiles and drones. their inflation is now 300%, is reported in the news. It used to be 5 or 10%, so they're completely broke. The blockade is costing them a fortune. If Trump goes into Carg Island and takes that over and really stops all oil production for Iran, they're really in trouble. So again, I don't get the people that are saying that Iran is winning this war. We're losing the war. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. Anyway, I believe Trump's going to win this conflict in Iran sometime in the next 3 months. There's going to be a positive ending, and I think we're not sure what the ending is going to be at this point. I'm praying that the Iranian people can take back their country and get rid of the Revolutionary Guards. Who and if you look at what Iran's done, they are the people that are causing all the problems in the Middle East and have for the last 50 years. They're bombing their allies near them, not just Israel, a lot of Arab states as well. And they're the leading state sponsor of terrorism the last 50 years. They've killed thousands and thousands of people, Americans, Israelis, other people from all over the world. And they are a cancer in the Middle East. Trump is trying to get rid of that cancer. Not easy, it's pretty complicated, but hopefully there'll be a time when the Middle East can get along. Other countries can join the Abraham Accords, and Israel doesn't have to be seen as a complete enemy and a horrible country that must be blown up. I happen to be a strong supporter of Israel. I'm a Jewish man. And a lot of Americans, especially American Jews, do not support Israel anymore. And they want to blame them for what's happened with the Iran war. So these are very complicated times and complicated issues. But I cannot understand how people are thinking that Iran is winning this war. Maybe they're thinking that from a propaganda standpoint, they're winning it. The gas prices are up. That the midterm elections are coming up, and they think this is going to hurt Trump. And it might hurt Trump. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Okay, so this is the brief sort of partial list I've put together. When people ask me what has Trump done really well his first year and a half? Okay, here we go. He has closed the border. He immediately closed the border. After Joe Biden's administration allowed 10 to 15 million people or more into the United States, walk right in, many of them criminals that murdered our people, okay? He closed the border within 1 month of his second term starting. He has deported, I believe it's over 600,000 criminal illegals at this point. That's got to be considered a good thing. These are people that were criminals in other countries or committed crimes in the United States. And why the hell should they be allowed to stay in our country? I don't see anyone, it makes no sense that anyone could protect these people in sanctuary cities, or what Tim Walz did the other day, trying to pardon a Laos man who raped multiple times a 10-year-old girl over 2 years, and he gave him a pardon in Minnesota. Well, Marco Rubio was having no part of that, and he is now out of the country, as he should be. The 2017 tax bill was extended, which was very helpful to middle-class people. I know the left always says, well, only the rich people got a break. My wife and I got a much bigger return than usual. He has brought in significant investment in the United States. Hard to know the exact number. Trump says 19 or 20 trillion dollars from different countries, and now he's saying the Middle Eastern countries are going to invest in the United States in business instead of paying a fee to get through the Strait of Hormuz. So we'll see what happens with that. He put the tariffs on many, many countries, and he said a lot of money was coming in from the tariffs, even though the Supreme Court struck down that as illegal. I know the administration was looking for other ways to continue the tariffs. Supposedly, because of the extra tariff money that's come in, he's going to send each American a check for $3,000 or so, probably before the midterms. So we'll see if that happens. He has gained favored nation status now with pharmaceuticals for the United States for the first time. So many pharmaceutical prices have gone down in price, which is outstanding. He changed the class of marijuana, and I guess there's a lot of people wanting to change the class, probably having to do with decriminalization. But there's a big debate about that because marijuana use is obviously very high for young people and it can cause some serious changes chemically in the brain. But he did that, changed the marijuana class. He fast tracked psychedelics to be available for PTSD, patients with PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, mushrooms and different psychedelics that have been proven for veterans to be very helpful. And he fast tracked that with the FDA. GLP 1s, the fat shot, got down to $45 for Medicare patients. He put his foot down enough with Iran with the bombing last summer and now the war he started in February and the ongoing conflict. And we're going to see what's happening with that in the next months and the next few years and the end of his administration. He tried to end birthright citizenship with an executive order. It was overturned and struck down by the Supreme Court 5-4 just recently, even though I heard a story now that the Supreme Court recognizes that if Congress and the president want to put in a new law, the Supreme Court has given guidance saying that anybody that invades the United States does not have the right for birthright citizenship to have their children become citizens of the United States. I'm not sure that whole definition of what an invader is versus an illegal migrant, but I guess they're working on some legislation to still address the birthright citizenship problem. He ended the Israeli-Hamas war and got many hostages released when he first came into office last year, and many of those were Americans. Some obviously came back dead and were returned dead. Many came back alive. So that was a pretty important thing that Trump was involved with. There's a major effort to modernize airports with the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. That seems like a positive thing to me. He exposed the corruption in his administration in Minnesota and California with the daycare and hospice. Unbelievable what happened with daycare and the hospices. I understand in California there were like 50 hospices within a 10-mile radius, which is basically impossible. And these people are just stealing money from Medicare primarily and Medicaid. And we're going to see what's happened in Minnesota with the whole Somalian population and the learning centers, the learning centers, if you will. That's still going forward, and people have been prosecuted already. He has strengthened the military significantly and has asked for $1.5 trillion in next year's budget, above the almost $1 trillion that we spent this past year. So the military, I think, appreciates that. He captured Maduro in Venezuela in an incredible military operation that walked right in there and took him out with no casualties on the American side. And he's in prison right now awaiting a trial. And I guess we're working cooperatively with Venezuela. It's meaning more oil for the United States and hopefully a better life for the Venezuelan people who are living just in a communist dictatorship under Maduro. He took on the drug cartels, Trump, okay? And you saw what was happening with our military blowing up these boats coming to the United States, bringing drugs, primarily fentanyl. And a lot of people got killed. And there's a clear message. You get spotted with a boat that we think is a drug boat, we have information, we're going to kill you. And I think the number of boats coming to the United States like this are far reduced at this point because word's gotten out that you're going to die. And I think that was a really positive thing Trump did in the military because I've heard that fentanyl deaths in the United States are down 40,000 from last year. That is 40,000 young people that are alive today because of this action he took against the drug cartels. I'd say that's pretty important. He got men out of women's sports, some of the woke crap that's been infecting our country for the last 10 years. And the Supreme Court supported it recently. He ended DEI in a lot of universities and a lot of corporate boardrooms. He is working very hard on election integrity with the SAVE Act. It has not been passed yet by the Senate. In his speech just the other night, Trump pointed out that they have now gotten intelligence that was hidden from the president and the Congress by our intelligence agencies, that in the 2020 election, China had hacked into our system and had 220,000 voter profiles. That's basically all the adult voters in the country, because we have about 100 million children. So they had all the profiles of all the voters in the country, and that was hidden from Trump and the Congress. It might have been hidden from Biden, it sounds like. They're looking into that now, the Justice Department. And also that Homeland Security in just 4 states found 275,000 illegal immigrants registered to vote in federal elections. That was just in 4 states. Now, you can imagine how many more there are in the other 46 states. There are 18 states right now that are refusing to turn over their voting rolls to the federal government for analysis. And you can imagine which states those are. A lot of them are blue states. What are they hiding? I'm not sure what they're hiding, but they're hiding something. I'm guessing based on that number, 275,000, there's probably 1 to 2 million illegal immigrants that are registered to vote for federal elections. And obviously our next election coming up is in 3.5 months. The SAVE Act, Securing American Voting Eligibility, for some reason, Thune and the Senate cannot get it passed. Some establishment rhino Republicans don't want to pass it for some reason. They're looking at reconciliation. I doubt they're going to remove the filibuster. But Trump's hoping to get this passed in the next month before the midterms. We'll see what happens. He asked all of his supporters to call Congress and demand that the SAVE Act be passed. I'm going to do that on Monday. I'm going to call my Michigan senators. I most recently just moved to Florida from Michigan. I don't need to call the Republican senators of Florida, Rick Scott and Marco Rubio. I'm sure they would vote yes for the SAVE Act, but I guarantee you my 2 Democratic senators, Gary Peters and is it Alyssa Slotkin, I think, would probably vote no for that. So I'm going to make that call. He also started the Trump baby accounts, the $1,000 accounts for each baby born after he took office last year on January 20th. So now every infant, every baby born gets $1,000 put in by the government to try to help a compound account. So by the time they're 18, they have some money for college, for whatever they need that will help them advance in young adulthood. The Dell company, the Dell Computer Company, contributed $6 billion to that account. And I think there are millions of people now that have taken advantage of that. I think the other thing you can do is families can also then put in up to $5,000 a year tax-free into those accounts for their children. So that's about 20 things that he's done. There are more, but I'm going to leave it at that list at this point. Again, Democrats that hate his guts, they'll tell you he hasn't accomplished one thing, which is complete nonsense. And again, just a symptom of Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. So there you go. That's the show for tonight. Again, please subscribe to the podcast if you like what we're talking about. I've got a lot of interesting things coming up in future podcasts, so you take it easy, political geeks. I'll see you next time.